Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago Fire Season 13's divisive character return proves NBC botched Severide's best relationship in years. Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 9, A Favor brings back a divisive character, proving that NBC made the mistake of ruining Kelly Severide's best relationship in years. After a lengthy winter break, Wolf Entertainment's One Chicago is officially back with new episodes for its respective installments. While much of the time in A Favor is devoted towards answering lingering questions from earlier in the ongoing season, it also introduces new arcs that could play out for the rest of the year. Simultaneously, however, the Chicago Fire Season 13 cast operates business as usual for 2025. Firehouse 51 starts the new year with double good news. Both Christopher Herman and Mouch McColland passed their exams. This allows them to move the Chicago Fire Department ladder, with the latter taking over Truck 81 temporarily while Stella Kidd is away. Elsewhere, Joe Cruz's past continues to catch up with him, and it ends badly. His fate remains up in the air after his plan goes wrong. Among all the storylines in Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 9, however, Severide's new job as a substitute teacher at OFI is the most intriguing, especially since it brings back Jack Damon. For context, Damon was revealed to be Benny Severide's secret son after his mysterious introduction in Chicago Fire Season 12. Severide never knew about his existence before he joined Firehouse 51, but the older brother took him under his wing and quickly developed a rapport with him. Because of the time jump, however, much of this was skipped over by One Chicago. Out of nowhere, however, Damon's character became insufferable, as he openly defied orders from Kidd. This led to Chief Bowden's replacement, Dom Pascal, to fire him, effectively cutting the brothers' newfound relationship. Severide and Damon did patch things up, but there was a presumption that their story playing out on-screen ends there. However, the brothers are reunited in Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 9, when Benny's older son finds his younger brother is attending the class that he is temporarily teaching at OFI. From the looks of it, the pair appears to still be in good terms, but none of them knew beforehand that they were going to cross paths in the academy. Ultimately, it's a great way to bring back Damon after his time in Chicago Fire was unexpectedly cut short. While there is no doubt that Pascal firing Damon was the right move, considering what he did, it's the fact that Chicago Fire set up his exit storyline in the first place that is more controversial. Losing Damon forced the show to once again come up with ways to fill its unstable cast following major character departures in the last few years. Beyond that, Damon suddenly turning rowdy and unpleasant was a sudden departure from his original characterization. Arguably, there was no point in turning him evil, especially in that short period. By getting rid of Damon, Chicago Fire derailed Severide's best relationship in years. Granted that he has a strong marriage with Kidd, which continues to be a favorite plot focus in the show, he doesn't have any other established dynamic beyond that. His best friend, Matt Casey, is gone, as well as Chief Bowden. Severide barely talks to anyone in Firehouse 51 unless it's necessary for work. With Damon, he suddenly had another compelling plot that was evolving weekly. It would have been nice to see more of them talking about their different upbringing and memories of their dad. In the end, bringing back Damon is a good move for Chicago Fire. He's currently working in a different firehouse, so don't expect him to come back to Firehouse 51 anytime soon. Perhaps that is for the better, as this means that Severide can separate his personal relationships from his personal ones, especially since he's already with his wife. Despite that, Chicago Fire can continue to explore the brothers' dynamic as they spend time together at OFI, where the environment isn't as intense as it is when responding to cases. Perhaps after a while, Benny's younger son can eventually rejoin Firehouse 51. Based on their reunion at Molly's for Herman and Mouch's celebration party, Damon maintains a good relationship with the people that he used to work with, even Chief Pascal. It would have been better, however, if Kidd is also there to see the Severide brothers reunited in Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 9. In the gritty, emotionally charged world of Chicago Fire, few characters have carried as much weight as Kelly Severide. The lieutenant with the tortured soul and signature smolder has been a fan favorite since the pilot aired. For over a decade, audiences have followed his triumphs, his grief, his passion for arson investigation, and most significantly, his struggle to maintain meaningful relationships. But Season 13's controversial move to bring back a divisive character only underscores what so many fans have long suspected. NBC fumbled the bag on Severide's best relationship in years. The return of Stella Kidd should have been triumphant. After all, she's been a prominent figure, not just in the firehouse but in Severide's personal evolution. Yet her reappearance in Season 13 feels more like a forced correction than an organic development. And it's made glaringly obvious that the show once had something special with Severide, something it let slip through its fingers. Let's rewind for a moment. Back in Season 11, Severide took an abrupt leave for an arson investigation training program. Viewers were skeptical but hopeful. He and Stella had recently married, and although their union had its bumps, there was a sense of growth and maturity. But as the seasons unfolded and Taylor Kinney took a brief hiatus from filming, the writers scrambled to fill the emotional vacuum. Enter her, a recurring character from Severide's past who returned during a particularly tense stretch of Season 12. Adriana Vega, an ATF liaison from a prior investigation, was never meant to be more than a narrative footnote. But her chemistry with Severide reignited a spark fans hadn't seen in a while. An intelligent, tough, and emotionally layered woman who challenged Severide on a cerebral level. Their scenes were sharp, their banter electric, and most importantly, their dynamic wasn't weighed down by years of on and off storytelling. It wasn't just about romance. Adriana saw the parts of Severide that others couldn't: his obsession with justice, his tendency to push people away, and his aching need to prove something, to himself more than anyone else. She didn't baby him. She didn't beg for emotional scraps. She stood eye to eye with him, and for once, Severide seemed genuinely unsure of himself in the best way possible. Fans took notice. Online forums and social media lit up with debates. #Severiana began trending after a particularly poignant scene in which Adriana told Severide, "You're not broken. You're just looking for fires to put out inside yourself." It was the first time in seasons that viewers saw him truly vulnerable, not in a macho, brooding way, but in a stripped-down, soul-searching kind of moment. So when NBC abruptly pulled the plug on Adriana's arc, it felt like a slap in the face. She was written off in a rushed scene, transferred to another division with a half-hearted goodbye, and then, in a move that felt more obligatory than emotional, Stella returned. To be clear, it's not that Stella Kidd is a bad character. Miranda Ray Mayo brings strength and nuance to her performance. But the Severide-Kidd relationship has always felt like a roller coaster stuck in a loop. They've broken up, made up, gotten married, drifted apart, and reunited more times than fans can count. The dynamic is exhausted, familiar, safe. And that's the problem. NBC played it safe. Instead of exploring new emotional territory with Severide and letting him evolve beyond the confines of his long-standing romantic narrative, they defaulted to what they thought fans wanted. But the spark is gone. Season 13's attempt to rekindle the Severide-Stella flame feels performative, two actors hitting their marks without the emotional undercurrent that once made their story compelling. What makes it worse is how Stella's return was framed. She comes back not as a loving partner, but as a territorial presence. Her scenes with Severide lack the tenderness of old. They're mostly arguments, misunderstandings, and tired conversations about being on the same page. Meanwhile, Severide seems distant, distracted, as if the writers themselves aren't sure how to make this reunion feel earned. The missed opportunity with Adriana is even more painful when you consider how ripe the story was for complexity. She could have represented a new phase in Severide's life, one where he confronts the parts of himself that his old relationships allowed him to ignore. A slow burn arc between the two could have added much-needed emotional layers to the series. But instead, the writers abandoned it to return to a status quo that's lost its emotional teeth. It's not just about romance either. Severide's growth as a character has stagnated. For a while, Chicago Fire let him pursue his passions, special investigations, leadership, even potential fatherhood. But now he's been reduced to reacting. To Stella, to the firehouse, to what NBC thinks fans expect.